Do you ever read contracts or do you just click that button to accept it? Legally binding means an agreement, contract, or document which is enforceable by law, obligating all parties to fulfill their promises or obligations outlined. If a party fails to adhere to the terms, legal recourse is available to the other party. The Bible says, "Truly I tell you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven." Quite disturbingly, there's a beverage company trying to get you to sell your soul for all eternity. Alternatively, you can pay $125,000 per year. Membership is free when you legally sell Liquid Death Beverage Company your soul. Otherwise, it's $125,000 per year. They must like the number 125 because you can buy a voodoo doll for $125. At least you could before it sold out. Strong's Concordance number 125 in Greek means Egypt, as in, woe to those who go down to Egypt for help, who rely on horses, who trust in the multitude of their chariots and in the great strength of the horsemen, but do not look to the Holy One of Israel or seek help from the Lord. In the Hebrew concordance, 125 means reddish or ruddy. It denotes a reddish or fiery color. The Greek term is used in the New Testament to describe the red horse in the book of Revelation, symbolizing war and bloodshed. Genesis 25:25 describes Esau as being red. Esau was the one who sold his birthright for a bowl of, some translations say stew, others say lentils. Now, the Targum's translation, which dates from the 1st century CE, Genesis 25, has a little bit more detail. That one says, Jacob dressed pottage of lentils and was going to comfort his father. And Esau came from the wilderness exhausted, for in that day he had committed 5 transgressions. He had worshipped with strange worship. He had shed innocent blood. He had gone into a betrothed damsel. He had denied the life of the world to come and had despised his birthright. That's what that translation says prior to him selling his birthright. I won't read the contract, but it's titled Bill of Sale for One Eternal Human Soul. The seller is the person who would be selling their soul, and the purchaser is Liquid Death, a Delaware corporation. In consideration for membership into their country club, the seller hereby sells, transfers, conveys, assigns, and delivers to the purchaser, its successors, and assigns to have and to hold forever all right, title, and interest in, to and under the eternal soul. You know, it seems like a joke, and many will say it is, but unfortunately, many people have already done this. Like this guy, whose professional film career began when he played Spider-Man. He also played werewolf in 5 seasons of the HBO series True Blood. There's even a video of him obtaining some of his own blood and then dipping a pen into the blood to write his signature. A Google search reveals 225,000 plus people have done this. The company has been known to hire witches in the past. One was cursing the stock for October. Another was to help wager a bet in the Super Bowl, placing a witch in the stands. And if that's not creepy enough, Liquid Death is also a producer of NFTs, which they call Murderhead Death Club. An NFT is a non-fungible token. A non-fungible token is a unique digital identifier that is recorded on a blockchain and is used to certify ownership and authenticity. It cannot be copied, substituted, or subdivided. The ownership of an NFT is recorded in the blockchain and can be transferred by the owner, allowing the NFT to be sold and traded. The NFT company owned by Liquid Death is called Murderhead Death Club. That was the official non-fungible token collection of 6,666 severed head NFTs. Those were minted in March of 2022. Each NFT was sold at a flat price of 0.0666 ETH. The severed head NFTs sold out in under 3 hours. This says the company introduced tiered perks for individuals who own multiple NFTs. Those with 6 or more will receive an NFT of one human soul from the company's collection, and those with 66 more can have their NFTs featured on product packaging in addition to other surprises. In cryptocurrency, ETH stands for Ether, which is the native cryptocurrency of the Ethereum blockchain. Ether is used to pay for transactions and run smart contracts on the Ethereum network. Revelation 18 talks about the fall of Babylon the Great, speaking about the merchants of the earth weeping and mourning over her because no one buys their merchandise anymore. One of the items of merchandise listed is in verse 13, and that speaks about the souls of men. Matthew 12:36, but I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned.
So the state of Delaware recently passed legislation making it legal to track ownership of shares in a company on a digital ledger, which is a breakthrough. The state of Wyoming is passing legislation regarding hands-off treatment of utility tokens and classifying what a utility token is. Now, just to let you know how important Delaware is, the vast majority of public companies in the United States are incorporated in Delaware. So for that jurisdiction to let you know that you could digitally account for share ownership on a ledger makes token for equity a lot easier pill to swallow. So don't be surprised if you see a token for equity coming out.
A Google search reveals it's difficult to pinpoint the exact country blockchain was created in. However, there are ties to California. Blockchain was created by a pseudonym of Satoshi Nakamoto. As for the pseudonym he used, Satoshi is a common Japanese name which means wisdom or intelligence. For the mark of the beast, it says, "Here is wisdom." Nakamoto is translated to mean origin or center. So the meaning was wisdom or intelligence and center. The center verse in the Bible is Psalm 118:9, which reads, "It is better to trust in the Lord than to trust in princes," or to trust in men, depending upon the translation. It's better to trust in the Lord than to trust in men. The thing about blockchain is it restores trust. Something on the blockchain cannot be counterfeited. When you see articles like this, Davos 2024, Rebuilding Trust, and the United Nations talking about needing to rebuild trust, what they're really saying is it needs to be put on the blockchain. The demoniac in the Bible could not be bound even in chains. Perhaps what was needed was a blockchain. The definition of chain in that verse is a chain bound by which the body or any part of it, for example, hands or feet, is bound. Look at Psalm 9:15. In the English Standard Version, "The nations have sunk in the pit that they made, in the net, like the internet, that they hid, their own foot has been caught." Proverbs 3:26. "For the Lord is your confidence, and he will keep your foot from being caught."